Shishkin is coming on the outside.
Constitution Hill still in hand here.
Sir Gerhard with a growing advantage.
But Honeysuckle is galloping clear as she races towards the last.
This is the last for John Bon, and he is over.
But this is Tiger Roll at the final fence, up and over safely. A fifth Cheltenham Festival success.
Hello and welcome to my first Cheltenham Festival preview. I mean, I did do one in the beginning of the new year, but this is like proper Cheltenham Festival preview. I've got the boys from the Cheltenham Exchange on. You'll have seen their content on Twitter and YouTube, so make sure you head over to their channels and subscribe. I'm probably going to put the latter videos on, well, they're going to put the latter videos on their page, so you need to go subscribe so you can see that. Also, right at the beginning, there is an advert for Racing Tees. It's not a paid partnership or anything like that. I'm just doing it because he's a friend, so go check out Racing Tees. Anywho, we're going to try and get through this as quickly as possible, not to rush things, but I know the viewers will just want to hear what we fancy in each of the races. So I can't even be asked to say good evening to all of you. I'm just going to do a quick round the table, the clockwise that I've got it on my Zoom call, and ask what your best bet of the day is for Tuesday. And then we're going to skim through each of the races in chronological order where we're going to say what we fancy. So, Matty, what is your best bet for Tuesday?
Mine, vintage clouds each way in the Ultima.
Oh, John?
Run Wild Fred in the National Hunt Chase.
Oh, Ian?
Tell me something, Guildford at Mayor's Hurdle.
Beauty. Right, I'm going to go for mine now as Dysart Dynamo in the Supreme. So we'll kick off with the Supreme. Obviously, there's quite a few horses in that have probably got chances. Maybe there'll be some difference of opinions. If you want to slag another horse off, then feel free and do it. But like I say, we'll try and keep it concise. So I fancy Dysart Dynamo. I think this horse is an absolute machine. Just doesn't have the sexy owner's profile that people were sort of latching onto. Barry Geraghty didn't source it when it was a kid. AP McCoy hasn't been riding the horse since it was in his field. All those bits and pieces. But Dysart Dynamo, that last time he won the Grade 2 one by so far and just never got asked to do anything to step into another gear. It was just so quick. And I think when it comes to Cheltenham being out in front, as soon as they go up that hill, if he needs to find another gear, he will. And I just don't think they're going to catch him. So it's Dysart Dynamo for me in the Supreme. Literally just bolts up. I'm going to go in a different order now. Ian, who do you fancy in the Supreme?
I'm going to go for John Bon. And part of the reason why I was going through some stats, and I make it that Constitution Hill is about a pound well in with regards to what he beats at Sandown and what John Bon's beat previous. But since then, I wrote down LA Bill, Good Risk at All, Ireland Run have all won since John Bon beat them. I Like to Move, it was beating the short head in the Betfair Hurdle. And I think that explains it all, to be honest. Constitution Hill, I don't know, a bit of a show-off horse to me. So I want to go with John Bon to win.
Nice. I'm the one that said we've got to keep it concise and not slate horses, but I want to get stuck in already. Right, John, before I do, what do you fancy in the Supreme?
Well, I'm still hoping that Sir Gerhard comes here, to be honest with you, Dave. I just think he's won a Supreme trial over in Ireland there against all the right horses, and I just think this is the right race for him. He's also got the course and distance form from last year's bumper as well, so he obviously suits the track and the distance. And I just think sending him to the Ballymore could be a huge mistake. I just think he should come here. Although I do like Dysart as well, I love him as well. I think he's a great horse. I think he should be the one who steps up.
I was going to ask you your opinion if Sir Gerhard didn't go and what you fancied outside of that, but now you've just said that about Dysart, you can stick with that one. Matty, what do you like in the Supreme?
I've got two. I'm in the same camp as John. I really want Sir Gerhard to go here. Still baffled as to why he's not favourite for the race, to be honest, Dave. There's all the talk of the Mullins bingo. Will he step up, or will Mullins step Dysart Dynamo up to the Ballymore? For me, Sir Gerhard should be running in the Supreme. He was extremely impressive at the Dublin Racing Festival, despite his jumping. Putting to bed probably the strongest field in the division so far, in my opinion. Pulling away with ease and beating 3 Strike Live by 6 lengths. And you would expect he'll have learned from those errors and done plenty of schooling since. I have him well covered whichever race he ends up in. However, he does go the Supreme and is anywhere around 3-1 on the day. I will quite happily steam into him again. And the other one's Mighty Potter. Put him up at 50-1 on Twitter. Best price now about 12s. I think he's an extremely talented individual. He's been impressive with his 3 starts to date. His debut in Down Royal in October, he won by 29 lengths. However, the distance may have flattered him as a stable companion. The Greek fell 2 out. He then finished 3rd in the Royal Bond, where I felt they didn't go quick enough for him. He didn't seem to settle before picking up again late on to finish third. And then in the Poddy Power Future Champions novice hurdle at Christmas, he got his head back in front when not jumping with the greatest fluency himself, beating three stripe life by 1.5 lengths. As we know, he went on to finish 6 lengths behind Sir Gerhard at the Dublin Racing Festival. At 12-1, I think Matty Potter is a great chance, and a strong 1-2 mile looks perfect for him.
Ooh, nice. Right, Johnny, I will come back to you because you did say Sir Gerhard, obviously. Matt's given us an alternative because Sir Gerhard probably won't come in, but you never know. Hopefully he might, because it makes it a better clash, doesn't it? But if Sir Gerhard doesn't come in, what do you make of the rest of them? Who would be your next best?
Well, I'm with Ian on that. I quite like John Bond, to be honest with you, because I think his form is stacking up more than some of the others at the moment. I also like his Haydock run, which he got crabbed for, quite a bit, but his jumping is good anyway. We know that. But he also found off the bridle, and I think he's the only one so far that we've seen actually come off the bridle and actually find something. So I do quite like him as well, to be perfectly honest with you. So he would probably be my next choice.
Nice. I'm biting my tongue not to start saying things about certain horses, because we'll just keep it concise. There'll be, like, you guys have done your videos already for each of the races, so anyone can check out like the more in-depth views for runners and what we like or we don't like in there. There is another thing that's going to be coming out with me and Jamie at some point, so in there I'll start slating all of your selections. But we'll move on to the Arkle instead. This looks a pretty deflating renewal as far as I'm concerned, although it is a pretty competitive one. I'll leave my views on this till right at the end. So I'm going to come to you, Ian, and you're going to break the ice for us. Who wins the Arkle?
Blue Lord. I've got it here. So Riviere de Tell, obviously Blue Lord beat it at the Dublin Racing Festival. Riviere de Tell is going to lose £2. I believe it doesn't have the 5-year-olds allowance. So if you go for the lengths of pounds, you still got to find 3 lengths. St. Sam was beaten 6 lengths. He's still got to find 6 lengths on Blue Lord as well. Edwardstone, okay, granted, it's been impressive. It's had 4 wins, but to me, it's won a load of egg and spoon races. Solo's been well beat since. Third time lucky, well beat since. And Alan King's record at Cheltenham, I don't believe he's had a winner in about 5 or 6 years. So I think that just says it all, to be honest. So I'm going to go for the classy horse in the race, Blue Lord.
Oh, interesting. Matty, what do you make of the race?
Like you, Dave, I've got no strong opinion in the race now that Fernie Hollow was ruled out. He was absolutely crucified me. I'm interested in the race from their betting perspective, then dwindled. Blue Lord, looking at the trends, he's probably the most likely winner. However, he's not for me. I didn't like him over hurdles, and I just can't take to him. After moving on from the disappointment of Fernie, still got no bet, but I have been nothing but impressed with how Edwardstone has gone about his business. Jumps extremely well and travels through his races nicely. The only thing that worries me is his age, which is 8. The last 2 winners that were 8 were Size in Europe in 2010 and Moscow Flyer in 2002. And before them, it was Commandant in 1990. However, Size in Europe and Moscow Flyer both rated in the high 150s when winning this. And Edwardstone is rated 159 over fences. With all that being said, he is the one I'm siding towards at 9-4. So it will be Edwardstone for me.
Edwardstone, devastating. John, what do you make of the race, mate?
You're not going to like this. I'm a big Riviere de Tell fan, to be honest with you. I think she would have won that race last time if she didn't make the mistake at the last fence. And she'd still get some weight. I believe it'll be £2 less than what she got last time. But I still think that could make a difference. I also like the fact that the mares have got a decent record in this race as well, haven't they? With like the likes of Put the Kettle On winning as well. So I'm going to stick with her. I think she's got a really, really good chance. At a price, if I was going to just have a bit of a stab in the dark, I quite like this Ciel de Liège. I was a big fan over him over hurdles. He was a bit of a cliff horse for me. And I took 16-1 each way a few weeks ago on him. I think he's still that now. I think he's got a decent each way chance. I think he's been underlooked a little bit by the other sort of 3 or 4 at the top of the market. So yeah, but I'd go for Riviere de Tell as a win bet first and foremost.
Nice. Well, the opinion that everyone wants, which is mine. I've literally just like gone back and forth on this race a few times, but I just can't just can't have Edwardstone. And I've said this, that I'm gonna go back and watch every single one of his races over fences and just sit back and just watch him, see if I can find any logical reason why I don't really get on with him. Because he is the deserved favourite, but I just think he's too short. I do like Blue Lord. I thought he was pretty good over hurdles last year. Never really scaled the heights that I think a lot of people thought he was capable of. So maybe fences will bring out that improvement. And that run, like the trial that he won in Ireland, is a notoriously good trial for this race, regardless of the fact that Fernie or Appreciate, if they were over fences, would have dotted up in there. He was ridiculously keen in that race, and he's always quite keen as well. Whereas we've seen it so many times when they come to Cheltenham, they just go off like absolute melons in that first couple of furlongs. And I think that he won't even have the chance to be keen. So I think the stronger they go, which I suspect he will be quite strong, is going to suit him even better. So I'm in the Blue Lord camp. I mean, it's Willie Mullins in an Arkle. It's a 7-year-old. It's one of the key trials. It's not exactly an outlandish opinion. There is one other one that I hope runs here, but I don't know whether they will, is Elixir de Nuts for Colin Tizard. They're going to run Warlord. They were talking about Elixir de Nuts maybe being a Grand Daniel horse, and off his rating, like maybe that's the way to go. But he was a pretty good novice, this horse. He won the Tolworth. He just, Colin Tillard had that wayward period, didn't he? He wasn't running so well. And I think the horse is now starting to show his true colours. He is an 8-year-old, so it goes against those trends. But you can get like 60s on this horse on the exchanges. He'll go off like the clappers out in front. So I'm not saying I think he'll win, but I reckon he'd have a bit of a squeak away from the other ones. But I'm just trying to pick something against Edwardstone, I think, for maybe little reason. Anyone got anything else they want to add to the Arkle, or should we leave it as that?
I'm happy to leave it at that.
Yeah, I'm happy there, Dave.
Yeah, I'm happy to leave it at that, mate. Yeah.
Good, we all are. Let's move on to something juicy. Let's move on to the Ultima, because handicap weights, excuse me, will be pretty much out the time that people are watching this. But we know that the English horses or the British horses tend to do better in the Ultima. So in theory, shouldn't make a difference. We know what the horses are rated. So, Matt, you put your nap of the day in the Ultima. Is it because he ticks all the boxes?
It is. I like to delve into the trends to try and whittle down the handicaps, and there is a few that I quite like the look of in this. But the one of my favourites, although the age stat is against him, it didn't stop him last year, and that is Vintage Clouds, and he's currently around 28 to 1. He had a lovely little run last week in a veterans handicap chase at Doncaster. There's a nice little pipe opener. And at the moment, he'll be running off 143. Hopefully, they don't change that too much. The other on my shortlist isn't a horse I particularly like. However, he does fit the trends, and I feel if he turns up, he could run a solid race as he does go well at the course. And that is Fusel Raffles off a mark of 149. I think he's around 25 to 1, best price with Boodles. Yes, he was lucky to win the Charlie Hall Chase in October when Chambly fell when 20 lengths ahead. However, he managed to then stay on well and take advantage of that. See off Kitty's light by 4 lengths. The other one that I like in this race is one I'll have to wait and see if he's declared. That is a horse called Rapper. He's available around between 25 to 28 to 1. He is a novice. He's won 2 out of 4 of his completed starts over fences, finishing second out of 3 on 1. And of the others, 4th out of 11 on his first chase run. Seems to be improving with experience, and he rallied well to win latest, even with the jockey dropping his whip on the win. He's off a mark of 143.2, which would be extremely tempting if they chose to run here, but he does have the option of going in the Kim Muir also. Whichever race he rocks up in, I will be parting with some cash to back him.
Ooh. John, what do you make of the race?
Well, like you say, I'm waiting for the weights a little bit on some of these, Dave, but I've got a bit of a short list, but the 2 at the sort of top at the moment are Does He Know, for one. I think he's off 152 at the minute, but there was a bit of thingy whether he's going to go here or not, wasn't there, I think. But I think they might have been persuaded that he does come here, and I hope he does. The other one I like is Fantastic Ass. And I think he's off 144, so I think he's on a decent mark. And I still think he's got a little bit left there. So I do quite like that horse. So that's one that I'll probably sort of have a punt on the day with the extra places if he turns up on the day. But yeah, I'll probably delve into it a little bit more after tomorrow with the weights coming out. So those 2.
Yeah, they're the 2 then. So Ian, anyone else to add to the list?
Maybe. Just what Matty was saying about we've just to give Hacked Up a nice plug. We've got the the book, and it's got, say, all the trends in. And we the other night whittled it down to 7. And say Fusel Raffles is one that I liked at quite a big price. Experience of running 3 miles, and Cheltenham experience as well. John just said about, does he know? But they said Kim Bailey's come out and since and said he's a bit of a loony, goes a bit manic at Cheltenham. So I do like the horse. So I'm still not sure it'll go there. But I'm hoping that one that goes here is Imperial Alcazar. It has run over 2.5 at Cheltenham, 1 at Cheltenham, but has won at 3 mile as well. And that's basically that's the one I've come down on. So meets a lot of the trends. So I'll take a punt on Imperial Alcazar here.
Nice. Well, the beauty is it's all non-run and no bet at the moment, isn't it? And we can still get some juicy enough prices, I guess, about them. I've got the winner of the Ultima, so sorry to steal all of your thunders. If he runs, Karat's Rambler literally shits home. And sorry for the strong language, but he literally shits home. Like he's a definite twat of a horse. When he ran at Aintree, he tried to pull himself up for Derek Fox. And then when he ran at Cheltenham after, he just didn't really travel, didn't really jump very well, and still won cosily enough in the end. Then at Ascot, he unseated in that Reynoldstown. And I think before then, Lucinda Russell mentioned that they were thinking about the Ultima. And like, it was a long way out. It's very difficult to say. He was near another horse that he was just jumping to the sides, like basically following the other horse. But he unseated that day. And I genuinely, like, again, it's far out. I backed him for the race. The style that the horse is, I know that he's just a dour stay. I'm sure he would have beaten Does He Know in the Reynoldstown, which sounds bizarre. Does He Know wins by 14 lengths, but Karat's Rambler fell when he was just getting into the race. Karat's Rambler is 140 rated. Does He Know's 152. So I just think anyone that likes Does He Know, Karat's Rambler, I know he's unseated and it's not an ideal prep going into it, but this horse has definitely got more wiggle room off his mark. I think he's about 12 to 1, maybe, non-run no bets. It's not exactly the biggest price one, but I do feel it's a bit like Happy Go Lucky, where when we get closer to it, once she confirms that he runs and then something like Does He Know maybe defects somewhere else, everyone's going to jump onto the British horses because they always do in this particular race. I think the rest of the British horses are pretty crap, to be honest with you. So I can see him going fairly short. One of the Irish ones I've just got to give a mention to is Noble Yates, because me and Jamie talked about him right at the beginning of the season. They tried to sneak him in a 0 to 140 handicap chase in Ireland, and he hadn't had a mark. They entered him in that race. They gave him 141 or 143, I think. Then they dropped him back to 2 miles to try and get his mark down. They just didn't drop the mark down, so they thought, oh, bollocks, we might as well just run him in a half-decent race. So they ran him behind Ahoy Senior, didn't they, at Warwick? And then he's since been purchased by the Whaley Cohens. They're going to go for the National with it, but we know the Ultima is a reasonable prep for the National. So Noble Yates would be the only Irish one I'd be tempted to side with. But honestly, lads, Karat's Rambler just fucking shit.
He is on my shortlist, Dave.
Yes, well, that's it. That's all I needed. Beauty.
Matty has talked about.
I was hoping he was going to go for the National Hunt Chase.
I mean, like, he does stay, but I reckon the Ultima will do him because it's
like you say, off a mark of 140, then
filthy, innit?
Yeah, I'm close. Still, it was on the list, and said the only reason why we scrubbed it off, it's never run at Cheltenham.
He won at Cheltenham.
Won at Cheltenham.
Yeah, he did. Yeah,
I've got 3 runs at Cheltenham. Okay, I'll take that back.
He ran once. But he's not run 3 times.
Okay.
No. But yeah, there'll be a couple of things, especially like unseating last time. That's not necessarily so good. But yeah, I quite like him, as I've said there. But who bloody knows?
He'll be one for the exactors anyway.
That's it. Yeah. So the tote swinger as well. That's a mental one, isn't it? They just place in random places. You can get a load of cash. Right. Yeah. Before we start plugging tote too much, should we move on to the feature race of day 1?
This won't take long.
This shouldn't take long, should it? So I think everyone's in agreement that Honeysuckle wins the champion hurdle. So let's not even flirt with saying that she gets beat. This is putting words in everyone else's mouths, but I still do think a lot of people probably do think that she is beatable, but maybe what's going to beat her? And I know Appreciate's the one that lines up in there. Still winds me up that Paul Townend got it wrong on Benny Deju, and he would have beaten her and she wouldn't be unbeaten, but that's just sour grapes and pocket talk still talking. Is there any markets you guys are, I mean, if you've got one to oppose it, then feel free to say it, but is there any markets any of you have looked at, like betting without or place markets, or anything you're eyeing up for it? Go on, John.
Yeah, I think Zanna here for the place markets, a belting bet. I think he's about 15 to 8. So if anyone's doing any place accers, I think he'll get in the first 3, no problem.
Ooh. Do you know what? I like him as well. I thought that run in the Irish Champion as well, because he just made an absolute hash of the first, didn't he? And then I was surprised that he stayed on to beat Echoes in Rain at the end. And I still think he should have won the Triumph last year with a better ride. That's a decent one. You get 4-1 on the... Well, you can't because I'm about to take it. But you could have got 4-1 on the exchanges for him to place down here. Can you?
Oh, is it the place market up on that? I didn't realise it was.
No, not at the moment. If you could just let me deposit, and then it'll be up in a couple of minutes. it's on there for peanuts. But yeah, that's the sort of thing. Like 4 or 5-20 is for the place market, because Honeysuckle will obviously take it, wouldn't she?
Yeah.
Then there's Appreciate who potentially take the other one. Then you've got the other ones fighting for that third place. But yeah, you get reasonable price on him. Quite like that, John. Well done, boy. Matt,
I like that.
Anything else? Any like other markets? Anything curveball? Any ways to play it? Do you reckon?
Honeysuckle wins, mate.
Sit back and watch. Ian, anything for you, mate?
Similar to John, so I took beginning of the month. I took Zanny here betting without at 9-2 with Sky, and so what swung it for me? Second in the Dublin Racing Festival, behind Honeysuckle. Second behind Sharjah. Okay, Sharjah's come out of the betting, but Sharjah would have been the second best horse in my opinion. So that's why I've come down on that. Appreciate it. It still wouldn't surprise me if he didn't turn up. Still wouldn't. It's only here without.
Nice. Well, that was fairly quick. Because it's been so quick, and I like to talk horses, we all do, don't we? With the Appreciate thing, obviously we know no horse has ever gone there fresh and done it. Willie Mullins did get Penhill to win a Stairs Hurdle after winning an Albert Bartlett. Do we think, had he have had like a run, even if it was just somewhere else, and he'd have dotted up by 10 lengths like he probably would have done, like if he'd have run in the Red Mills Hurdle, if you'd have seen the run and you knew that he was definitely going to run, do you think he's the scummy each way bet in the race because he was the best of the novices by quite a way?
Yes.
Yeah, definitely agree with that.
Yeah, and you've got the whole thing of Mullins knows how to get one ready first time. Like he did it all those years with Quavega, didn't he?
Yeah.
The issue with Appreciate it is we were all expecting him to go chasing at the beginning of the season, weren't we? And obviously he had that setback earlier in the campaign. And I guess it all depends on how much that setback has cost him and if he's over it properly.
Yeah, that's very true. And obviously Honeysuckle is the monster in it. It's just that fact that we know, we've seen it year after year, haven't we? Some of these unbeatable horses do get beat. And I don't want to just put people off of taking her on just because of the fact that we're all saying that she's already over the line. So maybe don't get put off the scummy each way on Appreciate It. Mares Hurdle. This is a race that I'm very unenthused. I don't even think that's the word. I don't really give a shit about it. That's a better way to say it. Anyone got a really strong fancy? Oh, Ian, was your nap on it?
Yeah, tell me something, girl. So I went through, you might have to bear with me, so I've written some notes. So in December, Tell Me Something Girl was weighed 11.9 and was only one length behind Royal Kahala, who was 11.4, and Heaven Help Us was 11.1. So that automatically is basically £5 and what's it, £8. And then in November, she was 8 lengths behind, I think it's Dysart Diamond. Dysart was given £10, Royal Kahala again £10. And Getaway, I think I can't remember what I wrote here, was like given a stone. So I make it that Tell Me Something Girl was around about £6 well in on everything in the race. Granted, Stormy Island won at Cheltenham again, carrying 10.13. Burning Victory won in February, carrying 10.13. But I just think she's so well in. Say £6. It's whether Royal Kahala comes here as well, maybe depending on the ground. But I think she's a cracking bet.
Nice. And it's good as well because I've a couple of reasonable judges that I've spoken to have been pretty keen on her for a while as well. So, I mean, I just can't get too excited about the mares races. Matt, what do you make of it? Do you think she's the one that wins it or anything else catch your eye?
It's not a race I like to get too involved in, to be honest, Dave. Tell Me Something Girl, I know she's been targeted at the race and they were working race by race back from the festival to have her ready for it. But for me, I quite like Stormy Island at 6-1. She won last time out at Cheltenham on New Year's Day, making it 4 wins at the trip. But it's wide open this year, though, mate. I don't really have much more to add, to be honest.
Yeah,
just a bit good in Marie's Rock looks to be coming here, as I had her earmarked down as a potential Coral Cup candidate off a lovely mark of 140. She stays around the price she is at 14-1 on the day. I might have a little lead way on it, but Stormy Island for me.
Nice. And it's important to mention as well with Stormy Island, like it's very different. Like she's gone to Paul Nicholls, she's come back, all those bits and pieces, she's been sold, and etc., etc. But she was 7-1, wasn't she, in that mare's hurdle when Honeysuckle and Benny's Dew went to war, and she's a bigger price in this, which is potentially a worse race. John, have you got anything you fancy?
Yeah, I mean, the race has had a bit of a shake-up, hasn't it, in the past week, with Burning Victory beating Queensbrook last week. And I think Queensbrook was given her £3 and wasn't far behind, really. So those two have sort of kind of thrown themselves into the picture, haven't they, a little bit with that race. I do think, like Matty says, Tell Me Something Girl, they're working backwards from the race, and that's why we probably haven't seen the best of her this year. I think they did the same last year, didn't they, in the novice? But the one I've sort of come down on, and it's one that I've followed for a couple of years now, is Heaven Help Us. I still like her. And also I like the fact that she's sort of taken the route Black Tears did, when in the Coral Cup, ran really well. I mean, she won it last year, didn't she? And then Black Tears won this last year. And she's roughly a similar sort of mark to Black Tears as well. And that's just stood out for me all season. The only downside is she has run quite a lot this year. She seems to have had quite a few, hard races, and I just hope they haven't taken it out of her. But she's the one I've got, I'm down for. I think she'll be there or thereabouts. Front running ride and Come and Catch Me, I think, is the way they'll go. But you've got Stormy Island who will probably want to do the same thing. So I'm just hoping they don't cut each other's throats, really.
Yeah, it should be a pretty good race. And Queensbrook's obviously definitely well worth the mention as well, because she's Irish rating's 131. I know loads of people who wanted to see her mark tomorrow because she's in Coral Cup and Martin Pipe. And the fact that people do fancy her for the mare's hurdle, if she was a sub 140 rated mare, obviously maybe squeeze the £7 allowance in there, then a bit more for winning a handicap. I'm sure people would be siding with that. But I would think they would be running her in the mare's hurdle because, like I say, as much as she can have that low rating in the 140s, and I know this is a mare's race, so there's no allowance. When she runs in open company, they lose that mare's allowance, so the number doesn't necessarily look quite as good. There were some people at Dan Skelton's today, and I was half hoping that you'd mention Molly Ollie's Wishes, because this is what I mentioned a long while back, saying that I thought it would have won the Long Walk Hurdle at Ascot. I then put it up at Haydock, where she just didn't stay. She just ran poor because the ground was bad. But they were talking about her what was the one of theirs that flukily won it when one run out? Gonna kill us, isn't it? But Skeltons have won it before, and it was by pure fluke. That's it, yeah, Roxana. And they were talking about similar sort of pattern. They were talking about going with her. So I was thinking, I don't know. She's a big price on exchanges. I've had a couple of quid on her just in the hope that she might run, and I genuinely do think she's capable. She's never won in open company, so going back into mares is probably a better thing for her. But she's the only one that's lured me in for an interest. We will move on.
Dave, Molly Ollie's Wishes has got a brilliant record in mares only races. If you look back, her form's outstanding. I've backed her in all those wins pretty much because she always seems to be head and shoulders above the others. So, she could be a good each way shout. Yeah, I quite like that myself.
Do you think Molly Ollie could go to the Stayers and she's won at 3 Mile?
Well, that was the thing I was thinking at the beginning of the season, but I think given how pants she ran at Haydock, if they run her at Cheltenham, I reckon they'd go mares and then they'd step her back up to 3 miles at Aintree, because I think 3 miles at Cheltenham's probably just too much. But don't know. That's why I was hoping they were going to put the message out there. But I'd hope if she comes to Cheltenham, she goes for the mares. We'll soon find out, won't we?
We will.
Right, the Boodles. Hopefully this won't take very long. I like, hate is a very strong word, but I hate this race. It just detracts from juveniles, because the triumphs there, the field just gets smaller and smaller and smaller. You get loads of these horses that have given a rating. We've never even seen them run, and everyone's saying the sun shines out their arse. And then we know how 5-year-olds, when they run this, they're going to open company the year after, we see how difficult it is for them to compete. And I just wonder if they did away with these sorts of races, maybe some of these horses would be held on to and we'd see better with them in the future. But I actually backed on Saturday, can't remember the name of it now, the Lucy Wadham horse that came third in the Adonis. So for a token gesture, that'll be the horse that I'll put up in here, the horse that has no name. Any of you guys got a strong fancy in the Boodles?
I like Champion Green.
Ooh, go on, sell it to me.
So I think she's going to. So I think John sent some details over just before we come and see you guys. I think it's got a Irish marker 125, so it could be quite well in. One in January quite impressively after a couple of poor starts, so could be. I think that in the weights could be quite well in. there was a couple I looked at each way. One is called Swinging London. It's had it's had a change of yards. It's now with Ollie Murphy. It's actually beaten Champion Green, funny enough, when Champion Green was fourth. And there's won a maiden hurdle at Fakenham. And I think there's another contender called Ibrick de Sil that Swinging London was there. So I thought it was quite an interesting each way, that one. And the other one I looked at was HMS Seahorse, possibly each way, and has a line of thought with Pied Piper and Vauban. So again, that price could be a little each way, but I'm going to fly the flag of Champion Green to win.
Nice. John, anything you fancy there?
I'm a bit like you, Dave. This race is just a pain in the arse. I mean, you can spend hours going through it, and then some 50-1 yak bloody, rocks up, doesn't it, and wins, and it's just a nightmare. Like, I mean, there's loads of talk about this Gaelic Warrior, and I did get on with all the hype at the beginning, but he's going to end up going off at 2-1, and we don't even know what kind of horse he is or anything. We don't know anything about him, and because he's a Mullins, purchase from France, everybody's sort of jumped on the bandwagon. So, they reckon he's like a stone well in, I've been reading today, and on the mark he's been given. So obviously we'll have to see on the day. Just going off that, the one I've sort of come down on, well, it's like a bit of a pin stick, really. This is C Sessions. He's been like consistent all year and sort of just been, I don't think he's been particularly trying that hard in some of the races. He's sort of, he's had a couple of wins, but he's sort of followed some half decent horses home. I think he's on 1-2-2 at the minute, so we'll see what he gets tomorrow. He might go up a few pounds, but he's a sort of each way value I'd go for at the moment until I sort of try and delve into it a little bit more.
Yeah, fair enough. Matty, you've definitely got something. You love this sort of race, right?
I hate it.
Oh,
time to go and get a pint when this comes on, mate. If I was forced to say one, just looking through quickly, then I'd probably go with Brazil. About 9-1.
Yep. That's it. Don't even have to justify it if you don't want.
Won last time out. I think it won. It ran 5 times over hurdles this season. Won its last race, and it needed to win to get into the race. It's JP owned. I think it won the same race that Band of Outlaws won on the way to it, winning it.
Ooh.
Yeah, he did. Yeah. And he got absolutely smashed up for this, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was just going to make reference to that, the fact that you do occasionally get a really, really, really well fancied one, like Band of Outlaws, that he won so easy, didn't he?
Yeah.
But that's why I can't get into this Gaelic Warrior, because he hasn't won anyway. B, we haven't seen him run. Like, I think typically the juveniles that win this, most of them have run in the last 33 days. Most of them have run in a graded race. There's just lots to like against him. But the fact that they're just so bullish, it just gives you that sort of fear of missing out, doesn't it? That if he does go and win, you think, why have I taken him on? But I couldn't back a horse like that. What's he like, 3-1, isn't he?
shorter than that, I think. Yeah, look at it quick.
Is he?
I hadn't even looked at any of the trends for this race because I just couldn't be arsed with it. But just a quick look then, I think Brazil actually fits them all. Yeah, it'll be my selection.
Nice. Right, well, I'm sure there's a few people out there that probably got more bullish opinions in that race than us, but good luck to you. 130, yeah, it's still not, I can't have it. But I know loads of people will go at bigger prices, so well done you. National Hunt Chase, I believe, was your nap job.
It was indeed. Run Wild Fred for me in this. I just think that he's a typical Elliott sort of, and I know it's not a handicap, but it's almost like a plot job. Like he's got 10 chase runs over the 2 years. Second season novice, so he's got absolutely bags of experience for this type of race. He's probably jumped more fences than any of the other horses in the race. And I just think that last season they weren't really trying. This season they've been trying a bit harder. He won his race, didn't he? And then he finished behind Fury Road, didn't he? Over 3 miles. I just think he's tailor-made for this race. I think he jumps well, he'll stay well, and I just think he's like, I just think he'll win. I'm going to slag one off here, though. I'm going to slag off Statler because I just don't think he'll stay. If you watch his Albert Bartlett performance last year, he was crying at the bottom of the hill. He just couldn't get up. So how they think he's going to stay this distance, I just don't know. I think he should be going, over. I think he should be on the turners. Never mind the even the Browns. I just think it's not his distance at all, and they've got it totally wrong. The big danger, I think, is Vanilla. And I'm not a massive fan of him, really, but you know that he's going to plod away. He'll jump safe. He'll be there or thereabouts, and he'll probably get round. And I think he's the biggest danger to Fred, but it's Fred all the way for me. I just think I'm just waiting to count my winnings on him already.
Nice. Well, yeah, the second season novice bit you've chucked in there is like always a massive clue to this race. Like we did it with Galvin, and yeah. I think as well from like I haven't done the anti-post bets, but I would suspect most people that have got an anti-post book have backed both Statler and Runwell Fred at the beginning of the season because they looked the most obvious one. So it sort of played out as expected, I think. Matt, who do you like?
Not got a great interest in it, mate. Corach Rambler would have been one, but I've just checked then he's only got the entry in the Ultima now. He doesn't have this anymore. On the ropes is one I quite like, but I don't think he's going here. I think he's going the national, isn't he?
It's about 10 miles on the ropes.
It's fine because if anything now you put a selection up, no one's going to care anyway because you're just so deliberated.
Yeah, I think he isn't going here, but he's the one that if he does turn up, I'll be interested on the ropes.
Fair enough. Ian, who are you on?
I'm similar to John. I'm in the Runwell Fred camp. So I've done a couple of little notes. So he won the Troy-Town at 3 miles, second in the Irish Grand National. So we'll love the trip. We'll love the 3 mile 6 trip. And again, I think John's stolen my thunder. I put Statler won't stay 3 mile 6. Was fourth in the Albert Bartlett, 14 lengths behind Vanillier, 13 lengths behind Gulliman Deschamps and Punchestown. Vanillier, I don't like either. Again, this season, 18 lengths behind Statler this season, 18 lengths behind Fury Road. So the one I've penciled in that could be each way is one called Brayside that's got formed a similar 3 mile 4 form at 20 to 1. It's won the Cork Grand National. I think could be quite good each way, but Runwell Fred for me.
Fair enough. Yeah, I quite like the look of Brayside. I was talking to him with Darryl about that one because we were trying to work out potential jockey bookings and the fact that Jamie Codd doesn't ride for Gigginstown ever in these races. So I think normally they get Lisa O'Neill or something in there. So we were thinking he won't be on Runwell Fred. I mean, who knows? Maybe he will be. But we were looking for the Gordon Elliott horse might be on, and we thought Brayside, but he was due to ride him in the race the last day. But I don't think he rode anything that day. I don't know if he had an injury or what it was, but that was more annoying than anything like it. We thought he would go in there. But yeah, he drifted off the back of that. I kind of like him. The one that I just keep getting stuck with, he's just too... I just don't like his price given what he's done this season, is Vanillier. Because Gavin Cromwell said right at the beginning of the season, National Hunt Chase, and Gavin Cromwell's quite happy just to plod through a season with a target race in mind, much like Henry can do it. And Vanillier, that last race that he ran in, I know he was well behind him, but he was giving £8 away to those ones. So there was no way he was ever going to be competitive, and they didn't really need to run a race in there. So if you take those pounds off, then he wasn't beaten quite as far as it might have looked. And I think similar thing with Statler as well. Like, I always thought he was just an out-and-out stayer, but that first run, loads of people said how quick he looked, didn't they, off the back of the last? So
that's what I think. I think he's quick enough to go drop down.
Statler will drop to the Browns when Gallop and Deschamps drops to the Turners.
Makes Runwell Fred look even better, doesn't it? Pat's Fancy they were talking about coming here, weren't they? But I can't really have him. I think I do still think Brayside's got a proper chance, and it's one of those that if Jamie Codd, as soon as Jamie Codd's announced, like he was on LeBroy the year that he won it, he'll just get smashed up when so I still think he might ride it. And 20 to 1 on one no bet be the way I'll probably be tempted with. But when it comes to the day to have a bet, I'll be trading on the exchanges. I'll probably be looking to try and take on both Statler and Runwell Fred. Maybe not so much Runwell Fred, but I'll try and find a way to get Vanillier in the book, I think. But it looks like a pretty intriguing race, but I wouldn't be confident on anything, I don't think. But if I'd have backed him at the prices you boys have, I probably would be quite excited.
Yeah, well, that's it. You've got to stick with him, haven't you, sometimes? Like, and is Derek O'Connor riding Vanillier? Has he been rumoured to go on him? I thought I read it somewhere. I'd have to check on that, but I'm sure I read that. Now, that would be a great booking, wouldn't it, if he was?
Yeah, because he would typically go on something for JP, but I don't think JP's got anything that would run in it.
No, because I thought Capodanno might have been the one that comes here for JP, and then that all went tits up as well, didn't it?
It did go tits up, yeah. Beauty. So that's something else to look forward to. We've obviously got the handicap weights coming out tomorrow or today, whenever you're watching it, or yesterday, whenever. And then obviously jockey bookings will start to become more apparent for races like this. That wraps up day one, unless anyone else has got anything else to say.
No, that's it from me.
Boom. And then I reckon we'll just crack straight on with day two.